Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. You know what? I gotta take off my glasses. Um, I want to do a video on Pisces, relating to a Pisces. And my moon and my Venus are in Pisces, but my chart's questionable. I think I have an Aquarius rising, and supposedly my sun is in Aries. So, obviously, when you're doing charts or you're looking for compatibility with friendship, coworkers, lovers, there's a lot that goes into it. Like, where you have to know, there's a lot of details. So, I feel like a lot of people try to figure out a sign or they try to figure out a person. But really, the astrology art is very complex because you're all the planets, and those planets are concentrations of the sign energy. They're like the physical bodies of the signs, the behavior and the characteristics. So they're you I would say you're more the planets than the signs. The signs are more, they are larger. Like our whole universe, if it could beam in all the energy and kind of concentrate it into a lens, those are the signs. And so these concentrated, so these lenses beam that energy to the planets, and the planets embody them in a physical form, creating a magnetism. And so the orbits push and pull on us, and so it's all within concert. But this is my perspective on astrology, how I understand it. And I know. Anyways, you're talking to a Pisces. And I need some water. One of the biggest signs you're hanging out with a Pisces is they get very thirsty. I notice I drink more water than all my coworkers. uh, I literally feel like I'm a fish out of water. There is a lot of duality that goes on with Pisces. Um, but really, I want to say we can't get an accurate reading on anybody uh, until you understand that. So, like, I mean, you'll get a generalization of characteristics and behaviors on people, but the reality is you have to deal with people on an individual basis. And so, a lot of people have a lot of baggage they need to clear off first before they allow that true energy to manifest itself in their behavior, in their expression. So we've heard of attachment styles, people who have issues attaching. And I think that's a good example. What are those? I think everyone has social issues and they need to work on themselves. They have self love issues. So once you kind of clear that stuff out of the way, then you're going to get a clearer read on people and the behavior will make sense. So if you're having confusing behavior with people, they haven't done their inner work. It doesn't matter what sign they are. So that's the biggest thing I want to say in this video is there's no point in figuring out and trying to seduce someone if they're a Scorpio, if they're not doing their inner work. There's no reason trying to um, keep a relationship with a Leo if they're not doing their inner work. There's no reason to have an argument or finish an argument or try to resolve a relationship if people aren't cleaning out their childhood wounds. That's basically what the inner work is. So, and then I'm just gonna kind of leave a little note. It kind of got trendy for a while to people like name drop shadow work, ooh, shadows and darkness. That's really not what your shadow is. And so we have a tendency to just kind of warp everything we hear and make it fit into our own box. But I would say when you look at a shadow, it's kind of casting a dark reflection. And, you know, this, and when there's multiple lights, you get kind of multiple shadows. But, anyways, a shadow is kind of an illusion. It's kind of an optical illusion created with light, you know, and the absence of light. There's an object blocking the way. The object blocking the way is actually you. And the shadow stuff is what the you blinds you to. Your ego could be shining so bright. I want this, I want that. This is who I am. This is how I define myself. This is my story. And it's casting a shadow on information that's behind you. Other details, other pieces of information, other parts of your personality, other parts of your self expression that can be brought to light. So when you learn how to get yourself out of the way, because you are always your biggest problem, that shadow is removed. Maybe it's just moved. Maybe you've moved yourself, repositioned yourself in a different relationship in proximity to that light source. What is the light? That would be your higher consciousness. That would be that which illuminates. That, some people call it the witness, they call it awareness, pure consciousness. I am that I am. It's a non-form, non-dualistic part of you. Welcome to a Pisces video. Pisces are deep. A lot of people go, ooh, we want to get into some deep conversations. You're going to get into some really deep conversations. I'm going to have to say this is kind of like scratching the surface of the depths of a Pisces individual. So let's just get into it. Maybe why your relationship didn't work out, maybe how to attract a Pisces and how to understand and relate to a Pisces. Is they're diving deep. And there's a lot of content, Some people think, oh, water signs get along. And the reality is they don't. They understand each other. They can connect in a certain way. They connect through the element of water. So all three water signs seek security, safety, bonding. I would even dare say touch. And empathic and emotional. Yeah. That's surface material. Each sign has a different purpose. They have a different way of seeing the world, and they have a different agenda of what they're trying to get out of life besides fulfilling their purpose as contributing to humanity. They're on their own evolutionary path. And one astrologer was talking about how the sign of Cancer embodies souls. And Cancer rules mother energy and birthing and home environment. And so if you really observe, take your time dealing with a Cancer, the physical body, a lot of male Cancers I know have gorgeous bodies that they work out in the gym. And I feel like exercise helps empower them. It's a house for them. So they really, I think a Cancer sign is a really good symbol of the warrior archetype. So they're not, and it's also because of that warrior energy, they may not get along with the other two water signs because Cancer is willing to fight, and based upon how they perceived a situation. So imagine a strong warrior who has emotions. They're gonna kind of like lash out sometimes. And so Scorpio is very much like Cancer. My astrology teacher said Scorpio is basically just the weaponized version of Cancer. So Cancer is learning how to build up an armor, learning how to, toughen up because they feel so sensitive. And so these beginning story arcs are really important on, this background material, this inner work that needs to be cleaned up. Cancers are very sensitive and possibly sheltered or idealistic. I don't know exactly because on one level, I'm not a Cancer, uh, even though I'm surrounded by them. And my ruling planet is in Cancer. Um, and so I just know that their process is going out, getting hurt by the world, and then spiraling back into themselves, building up a little bit of a tougher layer, then going back out, getting hurt, and then building up a tougher layer. And so by the time they hit their empowerment stage, they got a suit of armor. They're a warrior. You know, Scorpio is different. They come born already with that armor on. They're like, I'm good to go. I knew this ride was going to be rough. I'm already prepared. I'm already a trained warrior. So when you're dealing with Scorpio, the the game is rigged already. And an unhealthy Scorpio is going to stay in rigged games. They're going to only associate with people or let people close into them where they feel like they have the advantage instead of addressing someone on equal ground or maybe even someone more powerful. Scorpio has control issues. Scorpio is also the sign of death. It shares that with Capricorn. Um, and so it's in charge of removing souls. So we get the psychic vampire, but we also get the doctor. We get the surgeon who's gonna like strip away and cleanse a wound. So life and death. Sometimes by removing something, you allow things to live. And so the purpose of Scorpio is different. It's all about seeking and destroying evil, actually. It's not becoming evil, it's removing evil. Anything that's impure, anything that lacks integrity, anything that won't survive, anything that won't help the collective, that's actually what Scorpio is over. Scorpio also doesn't get the energy of the moon, which is loving and nurturing, and it doesn't get the energy of Venus, which is romantic, which is understanding of other people's needs and has a desire to relate. Scorpio doesn't get that energy. It gets Mars and it gets Pluto. So, as far as relationships go, that's not very good. The detective of the zodiac, the surgeon of the zodiac, the psychologist, the shaman of the zodiac, trying to get into a loving human relationship, it might not go very well. And we're dealing with a very complex, very deep, interesting sign who has tendencies towards the dark, towards the hidden, because that's kind of what research and mystery and investigation is all about. Why would you be interested in the known? You want to go challenge yourself with the unknown. So, Cancer's really not that curious about the unknown. Like, they have limits, and their main priority is, making life good here in the physical, in this incarnation, where Scorpio has past baggage. They are like, ancestral memory, genetic, uh, ancestral trauma. They're here to clear that. And ancestral trauma, you could, if you're not into that terminology, you could say clearing out the genes, your DNA, healing yourself, and recognizing that some of the patterns of behavior are passed on from your parents and your ancestors and your culture. Scorpio's here to transform that. So they already have a full time job. So relationships might have to take a sideline. Um, Now let's talk about Pisces because this is a Pisces video. Pisces is transcendent, and the other word is faith. It And so Pisces is a spiritual sign, but it moves into the realm of fourth and fifth dimension. It's not so earthbound with life and death and, the things that are going on in this world. So Scorpio rules things under the world. which is wealth, because Hades is a wealth god, who then was transformed into owning souls and becoming an underworld reaper type of god. Um, and so Scorpio wants to be comfortable and wants to be wealthy and wants security and wants power and wants to play the game of life. Cancer wants to live the dream of romance, house, and home and relationships and wants to play the game of life. Pisces, on the other hand, is done. They're like, I'm really done with this. I've done this how many incarnations? Why am I back? In my mind, Pisces is a bodhisattva. Pisces is on the edge of enlightenment or maybe has been enlightened, and they choose to come back to assist humanity. So Pisces wants soulmate, and the level of the soul has to do with a level of heart connection, has to do with a level of spirituality. So faith is in there. Not exactly religion, but faith. And, life beyond the karmic will of life, death, and rebirth, which is bound by time, Saturn. So Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune are not bound by time. All the other planets, all the other signs are bound by time. And so an evolved Pisces, and a Pisces who's done their inner work, cleared out their trauma of being born again on planet Earth or wherever we are, and really stepped in to knowing that they are a spiritual powerhouse, then they can start to have healthy relationships. And so this is the biggest problem. If you're not on Pisces' spiritual journey, you're not really in their life. You're not really there. And so if you get a Pisces who's not dialed in and tapped in and like serving, so Pisces is a sign of service. They're serving spiritual, they're dishing out spiritual water on humanity. They're giving of their soul, they're giving of their energy, they're giving of their time, especially of their wisdom and their psychic powers. They're natural healers. If they're not in a position, so a lot of Pisces will be giving and serving and kind of feeling good, but they may not be totally dialed in to, their angel, their guides, their higher self, whatever form that takes, their crown chakra. When they're, I would say, being a servant, serving other people in a less than respectable way, not really honoring themselves as a spiritual powerhouse that they are, as a transcendent being, as the mystic that they are. So really, like our culture, we think of service as a humiliating thing, and we look down on people who serve you. But really, in ancient times, the servants were the most intelligent, most powerful, and they were helping you. And so, in a weird way, the servant was the boss, the servant was the master. So we have our roles reversed here in our modern culture. So Pisces has to do a role reversal within themselves. They have to realize, no, they're on top. And the service they give is 5 stars, supreme. Like they are giving what they have to give is like, you can't earn what Pisces is born with in school. There's no amount of 3D mastership that can be equivalent to the spiritual mastery that a Pisces is born with. And so, in a weird way, Pisces is dealing with souls, like all water signs, but they're serving the soul, helping on a 4th and 5th dimensional way, make spiritual connections. It's like they're a bridge between the spirit world, not the regular spirit world. So this is another thing, Pisces. Low level spiritual world is earthbound spirits who have karma, who've done deeds, who are trapped in the magnetic sphere or aura of the earth. They're bound to come back. Once again, they're bound to the wheel of time. Karma. Pisces has to do with souls who've transcended that. So it would be an angel. It would be someone who's cleansed themselves and would be like what Westerners might think of heaven. So when Pisces is dealing with dirty energy and dirty magic and dirty spirituality, I call it 3D stuff. It has to do with money, materialism, greed, and everything in the world of time. You know, that I would call that dirty spirituality. But when it becomes mystic, they're dealing with stuff outside of time. Heavenly realms, angels, higher entities. So it could be aliens as light beings, like, whatever. I can only speak from my experience. But Pisces has a connection to spirit. Some people call that God or whatever you want to call it. As long as Pisces realizes they are the divine channel, they are the high priest and the high priestess, they're the ones with the spiritual power. And they're actually in relationship with source energy. When they realize that and own it, then, so obviously, so the servant that Pisces truly is a servant of God, on a mission to help humanity. Um, so if a Pisces has you in their life and they're connected, no, a higher power has told them they need to be in your life. They need to be of service to you. The joy they're going to get, the reward they're going to get is a deeper connection as being a servant. So, example, my soulmate, the goddess Kali, came to me and showed me him as a baby in her hands. So I knew instantly that a higher power wanted me to associate with this scorpionic soul from the underworld. And so, of course, he's the love of my life. So, Pisces, so this is what people don't get. People think they can do and say whatever to be in a Pisces life. But really, that takes a backseat to their intuition, or should we say that phone line that, they have God on speed dial. And if God, source energy, gods, goddesses, higher powers, if they're saying it's time to leave this person, Pisces leaves. If it says you got to stick around, Pisces is going to stick around. So Pisces is working with people on a soul level. So I left one of my Scorpio friends because she's not always playing on soul level. Sometimes she'll put her mask back on when she feels scared, and she'll put a false face on, or be secretive and revealing. And so I was like, I gotta go. I know I have a time limit. So, when working with people, it doesn't matter how much I love them, but if they're not gonna reveal their soul, be honest, then Pisces is gone. So the reason why Pisces loves honesty so much is because honesty is a part of being vulnerable, opening up like a flower, revealing your beauty. So my sweetheart, who I will always love, even in a reckless way, revealed his truth, was honest. Even if it hurt my feelings and he was saying mean things and whatever, it was authentic expression of his feelings. He wasn't holding back. He was, in those moments, that was his truth based on his perceptions. I have to love him for it. It was beautiful. So Pisces is highly intuitive, but they need to be free to let go of the world and be in their creative artistic space, be in the realm of the gods, be with their muses and feeding their soul to inspire them. If they're not and they feel trapped, they're going to be negative, they're going to be depressed, they're going to get into escapism and addictions, and they're going to wander off. You may have their body, but their mind is somewhere else. They've split. And that's really not healthy. And so create a nurturing environment or just get lost. But you need to, or Pisces will just swim away. And it's not that they didn't love you or care about you or value the friendship. It's just that, you know, there's an instinctual pull towards the spirit realm for Pisces, for the spiritual realms. And if the pull to swim downstream and hang out with you for issues that have to do with the lower three chakras, like you need support, you need just basics covered, Pisces isn't going to be too happy. Pisces wants to have deep conversations. They want to have soul growing experiences, not in a violent way. Like, so this is also really interesting. The other two water signs kind of like drama. They kind of like emotional upheavals. They feel like they're growing together through fighting and and coming back together and creating a history and memories. Pisces is like, the last thing I want to do is remember all that. Pisces, um, what also goes on with Pisces is you might have a little disruption and another disruption and another disruption and another, even though they're little, just little drops in the bucket. Eventually that bucket is full and it's heavy. And then Pisces, all they see you as is that heavy bucket and they have to go. So they have limits. And then what another really weird thing is that one drop in the bucket that they forgave you for, that they were like, oh, that's okay. They never really forgot it. And they didn't really get over it either, because that sent a warning signal through their system. It caused doubt, the opposite of the faith that they had in you, the trust and faith that they had in you. You now have put doubt into their mind. And so the whole game changed. They kind of dipped. And what is left is their 3D cardboard cutout version. Their soul left the building as soon as you created doubt in the relationship. And their soul won't come back until you replace that doubt with love and trust and faith again by changing your behavior. The Pisces may not know that's what happened. They may not even know that they feel off. They could put those rose colored glasses on and keep playing the same part. They'll be like, I don't know what's going on. I just don't feel the same, or I don't know, I don't want to hang out today. Because those memories, that information is in their astral body or their soul. And so when the soul left, it took that information with it. So now there's this blank space, and it's going to be filled up with crazy behavior, crazy thinking, outlandish stuff. And it can be very confusing for the Pisces. But it's really what's happened is that information left with the soul. So I was hanging out with my angel today, drawing a picture of him, and I was thinking about my soulmate, and then I was just like talking with my soulmate and my soul. And so my angel is my muse, and my angel is over love, and he's over beauty. And this is all Venus stuff. And he's a fire angel. So there's a little bit of that creative artist stuff of Leo going on, fire sign stuff. And I was like, how come you're so powerful? How come you're so beautiful? How come you're so all this? And he's like, well, I'm everything that instead of having a dark shadow, you have a light shadow. All this good, all this expression, all this beauty inside of you, you didn't feel like you could bring that to the world. So you just kind of put it up in your astral body. So your astral body is this astral being, this self manifestation is me and all my talent, me and all my beauty that doesn't get manifested in the world. And I'm like, well, why? And it was like, well, no one will let you be. The world wasn't ready for that. And you aren't, just part of the journey. So you can't get rid of what you are, you just displaced it. So it became your other self. And your other self is beautiful. And yeah, I would love to share that in a relationship with someone, but not everyone's ready to receive like angelic love. Not everyone's ready to receive soulmate love. But from day one, Pisces has soulmate love. So a lot of people mistaken Pisces as their soulmate. And so they draw a lot of people to them, a lot of broken people looking for love. And the catch is you have to kind of become love in order to receive it. The angelic, this higher being that Pisces is, um, can't can only come down so far. The lowest level it can go is to the heart chakra. So you have to get yourself up to the level of heart chakra. You have to do inner child work. You have to heal your abandonment wounds, your mom and dad issues, your security issues. So you can now be free to love infinitely, beautifully, without labels, without gender roles, without these identities, without these stories and narratives. And you have to be like fluid, you know. So Pisces is gonna dissolve, you know, your limits. And Pisces is like a spiritual awakener. And if you're not spiritually waking up with Pisces, then I'm going to say you're going to bed. You're out. You're done. So, if Pisces isn't having dreams, visions, signs, and symbols about you in their life, you're not in their life because that's their language. If you're not incorporated into their artwork, if you're not uh, written into the script, sorry. I would say